All right, the Michigan primary. So first off, there is a district in Detroit that is a majority black district that was not represented by a black elected, which goes to the point that all these districts do is give black voters a choice. And there are times that we choose non-black electeds. Detroit is an example, and also Memphis. But given how they coming for us, we got to snatch up them districts. We got to take them back. I'm sorry to that man, but the incumbent, I'm gonna show his picture here because he got a wig on him, and I'm so mad at Shay for pointing this wig out to me. Anywho, but he lost to this young black man named Donovan yesterday. So it just is what it is. I've seen some interesting things about how he moves in Congress anyway, so I look forward to seeing what Donovan does representing good old Detroit. Then that guy, what's his name, William or something like that, he was also running for another seat in Michigan, and he won. William was the one that was like that black voters defang the white leftist. There were too many. It was a crowded primary. There were 3 of them, and they all kind of got almost an even split. So he was able to pull that out. I'm watching you, William. I know that he Booker Square, Liz interviewed him, and he did clean up a little bit of that. But he apologized and talked about that sometimes being hyper-focused on the plight of Palestinians, that it created blind spots for him about how some of that could impact black people. Okay, I'm still watching you. Now, I don't think it's a blue district, though. I think maybe a flippable district. I'm kind of mad the other lady didn't win, though, because I was like, Fire Pack had been picking all the winners. And so I said, now you messing up our streak, girl. Anywho, then of course we get to the Senate race between Haley and Abdul. I liked Abdul better. When I listened to, there was an interview with, I told y'all, I keep going back to this interview and I can't find it. This man asked Abdul, Haley, and Mallory the same questions. Mallory gave no answer. She was like, Aaron Burr, sir. And then Haley, I hated every answer she gave. It's like, I just don't think the American people care about that. But we do. What are you talking about? And then Abdul, I said, yeah, I like that answer. And so now all the people, Abdul is interesting, right? I feel like a lot of us like Abdul, and the people we beef with on the internet, we are all in the same coalition liking Abdul, which I think is just interesting. But again, it's not always about teams, it's about candidates. And I look at what makes sense to me. That's why I said I'm abandoning all these different categories. Don't call me no progressive, no leftist, none of that. I'm just black. That's what it comes down to. That is how I decide my politics. Anywho. So Abdul squeaked it out, despite polls having him very far ahead. They was saying it was gonna be a landslide, and that's not what happened. Haley held on. Because it's so close, people of course are like, when these primaries are this close, it can be very difficult to bring the coalition together coming into November. And because their primary is so late, they ain't got as much time. And I know it's gonna be a lot of comparisons with Tallarico here in Texas, because the belief is that a lot of the black voters broke for Haley Stevens. And I'm going to call out a couple key differences here. Number one, neither candidate's black. So neither candidate's black. And so there's a different type of allegiance, if you will, for lack of a better word, I think, to with these candidates. Two, Abdul, I don't think he lost black voters. We'll see the numbers in the next few days. I don't think he lost black voters in the way that Tallarico did. We ain't talking about like an 80-90% thing push to Haley. There are some black voters that supported him. So that'll be a difference as well. So he's got some room to grow on. The other key difference, and the one thing we keep talking about and critiquing the primary here, is that they ignored black voters during the primary. Once Crockett enters the race, they ignored black voters and kind of ceded that voting group to Crockett. And it doesn't seem like Abdul did that. Now, I'm states away. If you in Michigan, let me know. But I kept seeing him on my feed, going on black platforms, talking to black content creators, talking to black reporters, talking about black issues and different things like that. Now, some of his answers, he had an answer I did not like on one platform. It was kind of weird, but that's just me. I live states away, so it could be a different, people there may perceive it differently. However, he was out there talking to black voters, so that gives you something to expand on and not starting from zero or what have you. Now, the one thing he's gonna have to deal with, though, there was a lot of, it's interesting because there wasn't a black candidate, so we didn't have the whole she's unelectable thing. But what they did do is when black voters were starting to break for Haley, and there was a lot of discussion about black voters can make a difference and help Haley win this, there was all this conversation about black voters don't like progress, black voters are the problem, we can't stand black voters, blah 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 blah, and it got real racist and nasty. Okay, that is going to be what he has to contend with. Y'all had Salarico down at the Breakfast Club today, still having to contend with that, and they get on my nerves, but I'm always glad when they bring the adult in the room, Angela Rye, and when Angela, she brought up the question that was asked at the town hall again, and Charlamagne, when he followed up, he said, "But you benefited from that. You benefited from that racism online. They said that she was unelectable. You benefited from that." I said, didn't think you had it in you. But anyway, he's gonna have to, in the same way that Talarico's having to wade in the waters. And Talarico said, "No, I'm still having to contend with that, and it's making our coalition more fragile." This gonna be the same thing for that. That's where I think it's the same for Abdul. He gonna have to contend with y'all talking crazy and talking real greasy to black voters. He gonna have to deal with that piece, because people see that as an extension of you, even if these are not official surrogates or what have you. And then of course the uncommitted movement. There's some black people that was like, y'all played in that black lady's face, and I can never vote for somebody that did that. And so he's gonna have to, respond to that as well. I think that's a specific kind of voter, and that's a really strong black voter who's probably likely to feel that way. But anyway, I like Abdul. So we'll see. I did see on MSN Now, they said that MSN Now said that neither of them had a better lane going into the general. So if you're like, I know people were trying to push that narrative. They were like, no matter who wins tonight, this seat is still seen as a toss up. It doesn't get stronger blue because Haley wins or what have you. But I already don't like one Michigan senator, Slotkin, and something about Haley, I said she gonna be just like Slotkin. So I am glad y'all picked Abdul, just for my own. I mean, it's y'all senator, it's y'all choice. I was gonna be happy whatever y'all picked, obviously, but I was like, Abdul seemed like he working with something a little bit different, so I could appreciate that. Those are my general thoughts about that. So let me know what questions y'all have as well. Another long video. I'm gonna put these over on the other app too, because they just long.